Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Nolan. I'm a cadet.
Hello, everyone. Sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Keith Nolan. I'm a cadet private. Now, my topic is about deaf in the military. Now, how many of you have wanted to join the military? A couple of you, right, in the audience? Well, so have I. When I was growing up, I've always wanted to join the military. I always loved reading the history of the military, and I had family members who were in the military. They fought. I had members who fought in the World War II. I mean, I wanted to fight for my own country, right? I'm not alone in this, right? But I can't. Why? It's because I'm deaf. I mean, no matter what's on the outside, I still want to fight for my country. So after I graduated high school, it was 3 months before September 11th, I went to a Navy recruiting center. So I went in the office, and this big burly man came up to me and was trying to communicate with me through speaking. But I told him, I'm sorry, I'm deaf. So he went ahead, tore off a little piece of a paper and wrote on it, bad ear, disqual. Not even the full word disqualified, not even giving the effort to write the whole word, disqualified. And that was my same experience going into every station and every recruiting center. So I decided to go ahead and get my master's in deaf education, and I started teaching. And after 2 years, I had 3 things happen to me. I was teaching a U.S. history class, and it was about the Mexican-American War. And after the bell rang, one day, one of my students came up to me. He signed, "Hey, I'd really like to join the military." And I told him, "Sorry, boy, you can't." And then I realized to myself, after hearing that message so many times myself, what am I doing trying to tell this little boy that he couldn't either? Now, my third thing is that I found out that deaf people in Israel were able to join the army. And I said, I couldn't believe it. I was in disbelief. How were they able to work in their own army? So I went ahead and went to the country. I asked 10 Israeli soldiers. I have all the footage. I can show that later. And also I went to, so my alma mater, CSUN, has a ROTC program. It's for Reserve Officer Training Corps. So while you're going through college, you can also be enrolled in this program. And so when you're ready to graduate, you can go ahead and go as a second lieutenant in the Army. And that's going through the ROTC program. So, I mean, I've already started my teaching career, but I went ahead and took a chance anyways and sent over an email. I said, "Hey, is it okay if I take some classes? I'd like to share some of the information with my own students." For me, that was the first time I ever gotten a response. That wasn't a barrier, but instead it was more of, okay, maybe we can work with you. And this was my first time. I was astounded. I felt this was my only opportunity to take this chance, so I went ahead and to get my foot in the door. And after talking with people and reading many things, I went ahead and made this research project. It's 89 pages long, but my 3 main points were about starting with the deaf history as a foundation. I knew that in the Mexican-American War, there was a key character named Deaf Smith. He helped ruin the independence. And in the Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., they had an archive. They had archives of deaf people who've served in the military. And there's a couple deaf people who've also went into World War II. The point is that, as you know, America has had deaf soldiers serve in the past. Now going back to the deaf Israeli soldiers, they served in non-combative roles. You know, they were behind the line support. they're working in intelligence, computer technology, map drawing, training. I mean, whatever there was a list. So I also studied how they would communicate with the others and their battalions. If they would gesture or lip read, but it was the same as we do here in America. Deaf people do here in America. There's no magic wand they have. It's no magic secret. So they also write back and forth. Now, they don't work every day with interpreters. Of course, it's not necessary. Once you have your own battalion, then you guys can go. Then each one creates their own group communication. Now, here are a couple of pictures of of the people in the Army, and here's one of them meeting the Prime Minister. So now going to disabilities in the U.S. military. For one example, there was Captain Luckett. Due to a bomb explosion, he lost his leg, but he's got a prosthetic on. But he went ahead and went back to fighting in combat in Afghanistan. And guess what? He's not the only one. There's 40 other soldiers just like him who's working in the combat zone. Secondly, there's a blind soldier in Iraq. He was in a car bomb situation where he lost both of his eyes, but he didn't leave the Army either. He decided to stay. And so now he's running a hospital for injured soldiers. Now, there is one soldier that is deaf in one ear who's developing deaf schools in Iraq. This is amazing. And it's impressive that these disabled soldiers are considered disabled, but are still able to serve in the military. So why not us deaf civilians? So now, 80% of the jobs in the U.S. Army are non-combative. If I wanted to go work in the Army, I would want to do intelligence. But there are a list of other things that we can do too, including medical. So these are my three main arguments. So comparing to Israel, they accept us soldiers, so why can't we in America? Secondly, we let disabled soldiers also serve in our military. Now, thirdly, 80% of the U.S. military occupations are non-combative. So my question is, can Americans serve in the military? And my answer is yes. I'm going to go ahead to the next slide where my experience was in the Army ROTC with my battalion. It was the first time they've ever had a deaf cadet. They've never had one before. So, of course, it was a learning curve for all of us. Testing if I was able to do certain activities. And for me, of course, this is unique to me. I feel like I'm entering into a new world with the Army and the training and the boot camp. So, of course, it was off to a slow start. We first had to figure out how to communicate with each other and get to know each other. Now, on the first day of class, I wasn't provided a uniform. Everyone else had a uniform except me. So every morning, we had, 4:30 in the morning, we had a workout. Now, on Fridays, we had lab, which was field training. And some of the weekends, we went to the Army base for training. Okay, so I showed up one morning, and I wore my regular uniform to go ahead and work out. And some of the soldiers said, no, you don't have to be with us. But, of course, I want to. I want to be here. And I worked out with them every morning. And then I asked them to see if I can join them on the weekends for field training. I wanted to give it a try. So they let me join, but not as a participant, only as a spectator, which I accepted. Now, they were teaching the regular marching drills, how to, attention and how to stand up straight and salute. Finally, one of them gestured at me to join in the line. Now, as I was approaching them, I figured it would probably be best for me to join the second line so that I could look at the other people and copy them. And that person who helped me get my foot in the door looked at me and he said, "No, you're not getting in the second line. You're learning just like everybody else and standing in the front line. You got to learn on your own, not to try to depend on other people." And that was the first time I was ever looked at as a regular human being, capable of doing things on my own. And after that, I still asked if I could get a uniform until one day they came up to me and said, "Hey, we've got a uniform for you." And I was asking, what's changed? But they saw my motivation. They saw me giving my 110%. So they decided to gift me with a uniform. So they brought me to the military warehouse, and I thought I would just get just a uniform, but I got two duffel bags full of full duffel bags full of Army equipment. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Now, I have to tell you, every morning when I get up, I put on my uniform, and I feel privileged. I feel it's an honor to wear this uniform. So as time went on, we went to the Army base training. They were worried for the first time that the interpreter might get hurt, so we had to figure out the logistics. Finally, they allowed me to go. So that was kind of the learning curve. And so that first time we had a Chinook helicopter with two huge rollerblades rushing down onto the pavement. And of course, we were all supposed to file onto that, and we're all supposed to file onto that helicopter. But as I looked back, I knew that I couldn't. I had to stand back while everyone else could file onto the helicopter. While I stood off to the side, I looked, but I could see the other officers having a side conversation. And finally, at the last minute, they gestured at me and told me to get on the helicopter. And from that moment on, I felt like I've been part of the team, been part of the family. I mean, there's been no separation ever since. I feel like this is my passion. This is where I belong. So let me go ahead and show you some pictures from the ROTC. So this is my battalion. So in the ROTC program, I had to learn a lot about what I could and couldn't do. That was my coordinator. Now, my cadets, when I work with them, I feel like it's all about camaraderie. We're brothers and sisters in one family. I had to learn about modern warfare, how to lead. I've learned how to do recon, how to strategize, how to blow up bunkers, and looking how to navigate through mountains. Also, as for accommodations, yes, I was provided an interpreter. The National Center of Deafness here. I really thank them because it's tough to find an interpreter in the first place who would be willing to get up so early in the morning for my classes. And the other guy in the picture there is the man who helped me get my foot in the door. His name is Lieutenant Mendoza. These other pictures are here during the fall. This is when we were doing the training. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Phillips. He's the head manager of the whole battalion. Now, every time I see him walk by, when we cross paths, I get this sense of leadership. Feeling that's what a real soldier. Because he looks at me as my capabilities, not just my deafness. I command a great respect. Over here is at that helicopter, in that picture. Now, every cadet has a mentor. My mentor's name was Citral. He taught me how to do pretty much everything in the Army during training. Now, we went to Las Vegas one time for a field test to see how our skills are compared to the German soldiers. I mean, we were timed during swimming, running, and also marksmanship, and I passed. And this is where I got my first badge. Now down here is one of the Richardson he didn't take any baloney from us, so. And the next picture over here. And so 14 of us, we had to carry those backpacks for 2 hours. And over here are our other cadets. I mean, I've been with these people for so long that they've all been issued a name sign for me. You know, here's a couple of them, and you know, one guy, because he's so sarcastic, that's his name sign. And so one of them, the other one's is intelligence. The other one is Scarvy. I mean, he's a top athletic person, but he's got a scar down his face, so that's kind of his name identifier. Over here is the chairman for the Senator Congress. He works with President Obama and the Department of Defense. He gave a speech, and afterwards I met with him and I said, "It's pleased to meet you," but I signed it, and the interpreter pronounced it for me, voice for me, and he went ahead, and since he heard the voice, the congressman shook the interpreter's hand, but the interpreter was trying to explain that it was me who was talking, but he went ahead and just shook everyone else's hand. So I don't know if he actually knew that I was deaf, but anyways, as we kept going in the army, Now, about till 1 or 2 weeks ago, we had an event. I had an event happen where, let me back up. So ROTC has 4 levels. There are 2 levels that I just finished, and then there's a 3rd level that I could jump up to. Now, I would have to pass a medical exam to go up to the next level. But of course, I would have failed the hearing test. So that's when I got sat down and explained that if I would want to continue to level 3, I wouldn't be able to because, you know, training in the mornings, I wouldn't be able to join for that. The Army base, I wouldn't also be able to join for that, and I'd have to give back my uniform. I felt in disbelief. All I would be able to do is just take classes. Now, my officers and my cadets, they're also with me in shock. And I know that Colonel Phillips has tried to talk to the upper heads, you know, explaining on my behalf where I have done so well in training, but all they see is, because I'm deaf, therefore I'm not good. Now, my officers, they've tried to find different ways and they have found that there is actually another deaf cadet who's going through the whole process, the whole 4-year program, and he's going to graduate this May. And it's the same area, but, you know, he wouldn't be able to get into the Army because he's deaf, so people here have said, don't give up. The policy needs to change. So let's talk with the Congress and see if we can talk with the congressman. David Waxman, he's the congressman of here in Wisconsin, but this is where I am calling out to you, and I need your help. Before, black soldiers couldn't join the Army, and now it's okay. I mean, women couldn't join the Army, and now they do. And now I feel as a deaf person, as other disabled soldiers, civilians, it's our time to go ahead and start joining the Army as well. Thank you.